Welcome to another edition of the Mile High Real Estate podcast. And I am so excited today. I get the opportunity to talk to some just exciting people in the community and people who are making a difference, doing stuff, making an impact, making sure that they're taking care of clients. And, I was asked, am I just going to interview just any, real estate agents as we do this and as we talk about, the whole world of real estate and how it works. And I really want to just hone in on people who are doing something, people who, that we have. I think when I looked at the Denver Real Estate Association, they had over 9,000 real estate agents that are part of that organization. And only about 20% of them are actually doing business every single year. So you think about, people are hanging their license, but who's making impacts in the community? And one of the things, with our guest today that I really kind of want to highlight, with Steph is that not only is she an incredible real estate agent, but she loves to empower women. She loves, the team aspect of doing stuff. In fact, I'm gonna let her talk about it, about her athletic stuff that she used to do, and being an athlete and a former professional athlete, and talking to, people who just they get what it means to work hard. I was at a meeting earlier today when we were talking about digging a little bit deeper. What does it mean to dig a little bit deeper? And I went back to my athletic background, thinking about, yeah, when I'm trying to dig a little bit deeper, it's because there's nothing left in the tank, and I go that little bit extra mile. And Steph Swartzlander is that type of person. She's that type of person that you're going to be excited about talking to and excited about hearing. And I want her to start out just telling how we get a hold of her. So Steph, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for taking the time out of your day and working with folks in the community to kind of come on and just share about who you are in your life. And so if you could first, before you even start telling us about who you are, tell people how to get a hold of you, because that's so important.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me here.
You're welcome.
Best way to get a hold of me is Instagram. I'm big on social media. I live on that app all day long, unfortunately. Well, that's part of the fun, right?
There
But
you go.
Instagram for sure, or Facebook too.
So no TikTok?
Nah, I have a TikTok account. I think I have like one video on there. But
Oh,
any account, my name is Steph Swartzlander, so you can find me at Steph
all right.
Swartzlander.
That is so cool. And it's so amazing with social media. Before I even kind of talk about your history, we kind of went into the social media and being able to get a hold of you. Have you been using AI for anything at this point yet? Has that something that surfaced? Because something I want to dig into with people, because I think there's so much opportunity in all types of things. But has AI been something that you've been, chat GPT and all that kind of stuff? Have you been
Yes,
using?
definitely using Chat GPT. I mean, I use it for ideas and kind of like a bullet list, and then I write things out in my own words. But yeah, it's definitely starting to become like an everyday part of my
Oh, good.
work.
Good, good. Yeah, I think it's going to change the way that we do business, but it's not going to change the personal side of the way that we do business. And especially in this world of real estate. I'm on the mortgage side of it, and I do reverse mortgages, and I talk to seniors all the time. And so, they're not really ready for the chat BTG yet. But at the same time, I don't think we can ever take away that part of the transaction. I mean, I think we can get numbers and we can get stuff, but the fact that it takes one person listening to another person and understanding their situation and going through. So kind of tell us how you got involved in this whole world of real estate. Why was it something that you were drawn to, or something that you would love to do with folks?
Yeah, so I've been in the business for 6 years now. I
Okay.
came from the corporate world, was really good at my job. I was a project manager for commercial printing, and made decent money in California, and ultimately was just kind of burnt out, and was like I was working overtime, which was kind of cool because it was salary plus commission based, so I got a little taste of like the commission side of working really hard, putting in the hours to make more money, I guess you could say. But at the end of the day, I was super burnt out. I was living for the weekends, and I knew I wanted to get into a different career and make a move simultaneously. So I ended up moving from California to Denver and starting real estate.
Oh, wow. So California, you did you grow up there, or you just or Southern California, Northern California?
Yeah, so I'm from San Diego, grew up
Okay.
there through high school, went to college in San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly, And
Yeah.
then from there, got my first job in Sacramento, was there for a couple years, then moved to San Jose, and I was in the Bay Area. And I was like, this is cool, but it's not, the Bay's not me forever. And so I was like, well, where do I move? Do I go back to San Diego, or do I go somewhere fun? I had taken a few trips out to Colorado for ski trips in college and always had a blast. And so I actually took a trip out here with my best friend at the time and was like, let's just see if it's a place I could live.
Mm-hmm.
We had a blast that weekend, ended up looking up apartments. There was one available in like a month. We
Mm-hmm.
signed a lease before we even went back to California to tell our bosses we were going to move. And my friend wasn't even going to move with me. She just worked from home, and she was like, I could work from anywhere. So really cool to be able to move here with your best friend, but also very spontaneous.
Well, yeah, and that's one thing that I find in people who do really good, winners. There's if success leaves clues. One of the clues is people who are willing to take those risks, and to that tells me a lot about you and your ability to do really well in this business. I was the opposite. I grew up here, and then I went to Southern California. I went to Azusa Pacific University, and I ended up teaching at San Diego State, and I did a couple
Nice.
classes at Luis Obispo. So I was in Sacramento doing the ECTOL program. So I know your world there. And I'm glad. Thank you for coming to Colorado and bringing that here. But I just love the fact that that's something you were willing to do. I know I did mention athletics, and I'm sure people are going, well, what is it that she does, and what are those things? So why don't you just tell us about your athletic career before we move into kind of the mortgage real estate type stuff?
Yeah. So I grew up ice skating from a young age. I think I was on the ice when I was like 5 or 6 years old. Ended up competing nationally across the US. I was on a synchronized ice skating team. So 20 girls on the ice doing, moves and footwork and spins and all that stuff. National gold medalist at age 11. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then skated through my senior year in high school. I was like, all right, I want a normal life. I want to like go out, have fun with my friends on the weekends. Like I was done getting up at 3 a.m. for practices. It was a lot. It was my entire world, right? It was ice skating. So shifted, went to college, played, casual sports, if you will. Played several sports through high school as well, but ended up a few years back. I was like, I really want to get back on the ice. And so I started playing ice hockey.
Ah, I
And
love it.
then
Love it.
through that, realized I was like, I really like contact sports,
Mhm.
like, but where are all my female athletes? Because I was playing hockey with all boys. It was a co-ed team, but it was the only girl
She's the
on
only
the
girl
ice.
on the co-ed team. Wow. Okay.
So I started looking for the like competitive female athlete,
Mhm.
and I stumbled upon a tackle football league in Denver, and they were holding open tryouts. So ended up playing a year. We only had one real year because of COVID, but been practicing with them for a few years, and this next season is going to be super fun. So I'm looking forward to that. But pro tackle football arena
So we're talking
style.
about the pads, helmets,
Yeah.
everything. Wow. Okay. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. I was able to coach high school football for a while, and we had one girl on our team who did was the kicker, but
The kicking.
I love the fact that you're doing it and you've expanded into that spot. Well, cool. Tell me. So now you've been doing this real estate thing for 6 years now. You moved out. Now I'm sure you're really familiar with the Denver metro area and all the things that go on in the Denver metro area. What have you learned that's kind of makes you or separates you or makes you exceptional, makes you one of those top 20 percenters that do an incredible job in this field?
Yeah, I think I'm a really good listener, and I can gauge what people want, even if they don't say it. So, I mean, several of the homes that my friends ended up purchasing, they didn't even find on their own. I went and found them, I toured them, I made sure it was what they wanted, and they're like home run all day long. That's the house. Like, so I just kind of get it, especially like after the first day of showings with people. Um, so yeah, it's kind of
Oh,
like my superpower.
well, and that's important too because being able, I think where a lot of people fall down is they don't really look at what people are saying. They go in there and and they don't watch them enough, and they they can say, well, do you like this one? And then you expect, I guess the folks that don't do well expect the person to be able to tell you exactly what they want when they don't know enough to know what they want because they haven't seen enough, right? They have this conceptual thing in their mind of this is what I think I like. These are the attributes that the house has to have. but it takes somebody like yourself to really say, to listen to what they're saying. They go into a kitchen and they tell you they hate the island. They don't know why they hate the island, but then that other real estate agent shows them like a whole bunch more islands that are like that, and they're just going to hate it all the time, right? But you're listening and you're saying, now I know you're in the Denver metro area, and you probably do all the different, but there's probably some areas that you specialize in that you probably know a little bit better than others. And I know you told me earlier that you're going to venture into the another whole area. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when I started, I lived near the Bronco Stadium the first 3 years when I was in Denver. So that's like my hub. I know that area like the back of my hand. If you're wanting to live in Highlands, Sloan's Lake, Wheat Ridge, Jefferson Park, like I got you. And then just a year ago, I ended up moving out. I also live downtown and a few other places, but I moved out to the west side in Golden, and I'm loving the foothills. And if you know anything about me, you know that I love views. So whether that's a high rise townhouse, apartment, whatever, top of the hill, like if it has a view, that's my jam. And now that I'm over on the west side, I've even fallen in love with the mountains. So I am going to be expanding my business up into Summit County, into the mountains of Breckenridge, Keystone, all of that. And I'm super excited for that.
Oh, that's going to be so cool. And there's so many unique houses. I mean, sometimes you get over to, the east side and there's all these tract homes and like every three house looks the same. But over on the west side, there's so much I guess just aesthetic differences that are in homes. So that's really cool. Um, what could a potential buyer know that they're going to get from you? Like what is it that, you know, I come to you, I say, hey, I saw Steph on, a podcast. I really like her vibe, I like who she is. What could somebody expect they're going to get when they call you up and want to start looking for a place to live?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get my authentic self. So I like to tell people like it is. We're going to have a good time, but I'm also like going to tell you the truth, right? And so you can count on me. I'm super dedicated. Like I said, I'm a great listener. So you really kind of have somebody that's going to have your best interests in mind and really go to work for you.
Gotcha. That's cool. I like that because there's so many people who say that, and then I don't see that happening all the time, and I do see that happening with you as we go through. Talk to us a little bit about today's market. I hear all these things. Obviously I'm in the mortgage side, so I get all the rate questions all the time. But what's happening on the real estate side in the Denver metro area, in the west side, in the foothills? Do we have inventory? Do we not have inventory? What's happening? What do you foresee happening here in the near future? I know it's a loaded question, but
Yeah, no, there's a lot to take in, but it's kind of funny because it's other than so volume wise, we're down a third from our typical years, right? So we're doing less transactions. But if you look at all the other metrics, they're very similar to how business was between 2012 and 2019. So 2020, 2021, those are outliers, right? Like the market was nuts. So we're now back to this like normal pace almost.
mhm.
Same number of days on market, like listings going for the price is seasonal, right? So they're higher in the spring. It's going to fall back right now a little bit as we go into the holidays. So it's like a totally normal market to me. And I was in it prior to, COVID. So I'm excited for this market. I think there's a lot more opportunity in this market, especially for the younger generations. Um, and yeah, I mean, other than the rates are high, there's a lot of other benefits to getting in right now. So
Yeah, and when we really start talking about rates, like you said, back to normal. We had this clearance sale for
yeah.
for 4 or 5 years, and then all of a sudden, I think our world expects that we were going to always have interest rates at 2 and 3 and 4% forever. I bought my first home in the 90s, and I think I was at 11.5% interest rate, and we were excited because it had gone down, from the 12, 13, or 14. And so, but would you encourage? I mean, I know you're working. Do you work a little bit with first-time buyers? Would you encourage somebody in this whole process to buy now or to wait? What is when you counsel somebody when they're kind of asking those questions? What are some of the things that you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, if you can afford the monthly payment right now with rates where they're at, you're golden. Like you're going to get in right now with the lowest home prices I think that they're ever going to be this winter. Um, rates fluctuate, right? But if you can get in there and start building equity, you're going to be better off than throwing your money away renting. And I understand, like, there's a lot more that goes into it. Just like, hey, I'd like to buy a house, but I'm going to keep renting because of location or whatever, convenience. I lived downtown for 3 years because I liked the convenience factor of it, but I didn't want to buy downtown.
Hmm.
So, I mean, depending on your situation and what you want to do in the next couple years can determine that. But if you can buy and you're going to be around for a while, it's a great time to get in because you're not going to be competing against a ton of
Yeah.
offers, people that have a lot of cash. Like, it's going to get competitive again, in my opinion. So now's the easiest time to get in probably ever.
Do you believe that there's a cost to waiting?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of a cost of waiting. And it's I tell people if you know if like you said, if you one of the things you perfectly said is if you can afford it and you can afford the payments right now, then get in because you can always refinance later if the rates go back down. But if our rates go back up and the housing prices go back up, in 2 years from now, you pulled
Yeah.
yourself out of the ability to be able to save. Now, do you think that there's a ability for people who are renting, like you said, for the convenience of being downtown? Is there a reason to wait if you can afford it right now, or to get in your mind, or
Um, I don't know that there's really a reason to wait. I mean,
yeah, I'm with you. I just didn't know if you had a separate thought process because I see so many people, and I've said this over and over again, and I'll say it in this podcast. If you are renting, and I don't know what their apartments are going on the west side right now or up into the mountains, but I'd assume they're probably in that $2,000 to $3,000 a month range that are there. And if you do that, and say you're paying $2,000 a month to a landlord, and you do that for 12 months, then you now pay that person $24,000 in a year where you get nothing back on it. You do that for 10 years while you're just kind of figuring out what you're going to do. Now you spent $240,000 where some people could have had when we think of like generational wealth and building a legacy. Even if you're not going to stay here, if you know you're going to be in the Denver area for 5 years and then you're going to move to maybe it's Arizona or maybe somewhere like Wyoming or something like that. The amount of equity that you could build in a house, could move, yourself to easily affording something in another state somewhere else. Do you ever spend time with some of your clients just kind of talking about the equity side of it more than just the I live in the house. This is the house that you want. You love it because it's beautiful. But is there ever any thought or talking about some of that? What potentially this house could do for you?
yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of it is the equity gain. I think
Hmm.
right now is kind of like it's hard to get in if you're renting because the gap is bigger than it's been in a
Hmm.
really long time. It used to be like almost equal, like my rent's kind of the same as a mortgage. And now it's like you have to look at it as an investment. You're going to be paying more for those first couple years,
Hmm.
but in 2 or 3 years, it's going to switch and you're going to have more equity. And so it just makes sense. And I'm a huge advocate of buying multiple properties and holding on to them forever. Like if you ask me, I say all the time, I'm a horrible realtor because I don't want anyone to sell their house. I'm like, just keep buying the next one.
Gotcha.
Um,
Well,
so
that
I'm
makes
very,
so much sense. I mean, when you start talking to people, and I think that kind of separates you apart, you're talking about the investment side of real estate with them. And that's holistic more than just, hey, get into a house and you're going to live there for 30 years. Because the reality is, you're probably not going to live in that same house for 30 years. I mean, I think it maybe happens to some people. The other side of it is I've yet to meet, and maybe some of these people, especially in the younger generations of anybody who has the same mortgage for more than 5 or 6 years. I don't know any like maybe some people who got it, got a rate back in 2019 that have 3% interest rate, and they haven't changed. That's 5 or 6 years, but the person who got it in 2014, who was at 7.5%, they probably don't have the same loan that they had when they started out, right? I mean, it's
right.
thinking about what is this going to do for me in the future. And I love the fact that you work with people for investment properties, right? And so what would be some of the suggestions when somebody comes to you like, hey, I got my house, it's going great, I want to invest in another house, what would you recommend to me? What are you talking to them about?
Yeah, I mean, most of that is all right. The house you have now, if you want to turn that into a rental, how much is that going to cash flow enough to cover, the purchase on your next house, right? I mean, you go through all the time with mortgages. So, I do bring up the things. I'm like, the first rental might suck. Like, you might have, problems as a landlord. You might run into issues. You're going to have to fix stuff. Like, it might actually cost you some money the first couple of years when that rent price is not a lot more than your mortgage. And even if it's a loss or it's a break even, it's still a win in my book because the house is gaining equity, right? So
Mhm.
I have several friends that have bought investments or even like a duplex to start out. And I mean, they've gone through the struggles, but they see the benefit. So it's cool to help them then purchase their second and third property and keep going with it.
Oh, that's cool. Are there certain neighborhoods that are better than other neighborhoods for investment properties? Or is that part of the conversation, or wherever you're at is good?
I mean, you always have to run the numbers. Obviously, rentals are going to be better if they're closer to the middle of the city.
Hmm.
Sort of. I mean, now you're getting a lot of families that are renting, which is kind of that donut ring around Denver Metro, which is the hot spot for home purchases, regardless. But yeah, I mean, if you can be somewhere that's conveniently located next to groceries, shopping, all that kind of stuff, it's going to be a home run rental forever. So,
Well, here's kind of a crazy question for you. So, and I don't know if this happens to you. I thought it'd funny to bring it up because you're on the west side, and I think of, like, when you said where are good places to do rental properties, and I think by colleges or universities, and so you're over there by the School of Mines. Do you really get into some analytical folks that will just do numbers and numbers and numbers and make it hard to make a decision? And then how
oh,
do you help somebody? I'm just thinking of the engineers from the School of Mines, like actually process. This
yes.
is a good investment,
I
or is
do
it
have
easier?
I do have several clients that have engineer brains, and it comes down to the numbers, and then
Mhm,
also just like ultimately it's funny because it ends up being a feeling that they have, but they
mhm.
they know it's a sound investment because of the numbers. It's kind of funny how their brain operates,
So,
but
so they back it up with the numbers, but it's still an emotional decision, like
yeah,
it
they
is for
still
the rest
have
of
to
us,
like
right?
the property and like overall just feel like it's a really good idea. But yeah, that's a great point by schools for sure. Like the house I own, we know we can turn it into a rental since
Mhm.
we're in Golden. So that
Oh,
was obviously a decision when I purchased. I mean, our house is not perfect by any means. We've got a lot of work to put into it, but the location was a huge deciding factor and the views.
yeah. So views and location is, I mean, I guess location creates the view, and then you make the numbers make sense. And so, we are kind of running down on time. So, Steph, just, if you could just one more time tell us, exactly how to get a hold of you, the best way to get a hold of you, and then maybe some closing thoughts that would be for somebody who's looking to, hey, I don't know what to do, or who to call or how to call. Maybe just a couple closing thoughts on, uh, this is why it would be amazing to call me and I could help you out.
Yeah. So again, best way to get a hold of me is on Instagram at Steph Swartzlander. I do put a decent amount of content on there, so you're going to learn a thing or two about real estate if you follow me. And then yeah, you can reach out on there. I love meeting with people. I love meeting people in person or over Zoom. I actually do a good amount of relocation business, so Zoom is my jam. That's to go back to your point earlier of my superpower, right? So since I do have out of state clients and I know what they want, I feel very comfortable finding houses for them, showing them a video and locking them up for them. And it's been super successful. Nobody's ever come over here after going under contract and has not loved their house. So
That is, I mean, that's so neat because if somebody, if it's just watching this and for themselves, but they know somebody who is going to relocate, especially from California, because you kind of know the world of California. I'm not saying no other place in the nation is not good, but we still do have a lot of people coming in from California, a lot of people coming in from the West, and you knowing that super well. But to contact you before they actually are over here, and you have the ability to be able to have that Zoom meeting with them to kind of go over what they're looking for and to find them something. So then we just get there. I just sent a couple down to Arizona. They just sold their house here and is moving to Arizona. And I did the same thing. I called an agent that I know that's in Arizona and said, meet with these people before they come. And so they got there 2 days ago, Monday, and or I guess that's 3 days ago, right? And they are off to the races. They've been calling me every day because they had somebody like you that was in Arizona that was willing to spend that time beforehand. And I think that is so huge. Steph, what I would love for, as I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about some of your clients, and hopefully you'll be willing to do this in the near future, is come back and maybe let's bring on one or two of your clients who not only love the work that you did for them, but can kind of talk about the process and what they did. I'd love to have one that maybe came from out of state that you worked with, and then maybe another one that was in here and can say, "Hey, yeah, Steph did this for me, and it was amazing." So thank you again for coming on the show. I sure appreciate it. We have Steph Swartzlander. And one thing that I say at the end of all of my shows is, one, you can do this. So if you think that buying is this tough thing that you got to figure out, you can do this. You want to call one of us. And the other thing is, you deserve this. I think everybody deserves home ownership that's in America, right? We have such a land that is just so wonderful. And the last thing is, let us help you. There's so many people who try to figure this out, that they go online and they go to the Zillows or something, and then we see this by owner type thing. Let the experts help you. Steph is here to help you, and she said her superpower is helping you find what you want. And sometimes you don't even know what you want. So again, thank you for being on today. Thank you for, hopefully you'll be willing to come back. I get the nod that you'll be willing
Yeah, I
to come
love
back.
that.
We'll bring somebody else on. And we thank you for being on for another episode of the Mile High Real Estate Podcast. So thank you again, Steph. We sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. This is Brian Arnold, and if you are listening to this part, you've just watched one of our episodes of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight, where we've just talked to one of the best of the best. And I want to thank whichever guest that was here. They are phenomenal. They are amazing. They are the top of the top, the best of the best that are in our industry that are here with us today. And so I encourage you to please call them, pick their brains. They work for you. They enjoy working for you. They are incredibly good at it. And so I want to make sure that you give them a call. So whoever you listen to, whichever one you saw that you were there, please do that. The other thing is, everyone deserves a home. Everyone deserves a home. I say that at the end of my show. You deserve it. Let us help you do it. My goal is to make sure that we see homeownership. It just sickens me to see apartment complexes continue to go up, because I know those are people who haven't been able to make the call or figure out a plan. So let us help put that plan together for you. I have some websites that allow you to do that, and I'll put those in the bottom, but please do. I am a lender. I do work in the lending space. If you do not already have somebody who's pre-qualified you, I would love to be able to have that opportunity to earn your business and qualify you. My number is 720-682-2223. That's 720-682-2223. Give me a call anytime, and I would love to be able to help you with that. We also do living trust. And so when we think about an estate, to try to avoid probate and make sure that doesn't happen. So whether it's you, if you own a home, and you should have a living trust. And I will say that everyone not just deserves it, everyone needs a living trust if they own a home. And then finally, just wanted to thank you for watching these episodes. And so please tune into more. Would love for you to see and be able to shop around. So thank you for doing that. Again, I want to make sure that you know that you can do this. You deserve this. And let us help you make it happen. You guys have an awesome, wonderful, awestruck, incredible day today.